example that influenced all Africa. And the main target of those trying to downgrade African history is to downgrade that warrior group that gave to Africa and the world its greatest example of warfare, standing up and protecting those things that belong to them as against those things that the enemy was claiming. When we look at Africa picture, the picture of African manhood in the mass media, there is something wrong with the picture in general, more wrong with the television series The Africans. If African people were alert, they would have assigned people to look at it and explain it, but they would not have assumed there was anything basically true in the film. Do you expect South Africa, who put up most of the money, to have anything true and complimentary about a people who fought to keep all Europeans out of Africa, especially the Boers, and whose war with the Zulus drained them to such an extent they could not establish the republic inside South Africa or Southern Africa that they wanted to establish? Once you check out who's doing something and the motivation for doing, you will know what to expect. The picture, the series of the downgrading of Zulu womanhood and manhood. And it came soon after another slick job, slicker than the Zulus, a series called The Africans. Now, if you knew African history, you could see the downgrading in The Africans. But The Africans was done by a master black hustler with great skill and one of the best informed Africans on the face of the earth, who know better, who never lie without knowing he's a liar, who never lie until he knows that most of the audience will not know that he's a liar. He's a master con man and a master hustler that has been in favor of the whites against the blacks for more than 25 years. He wrote the first anti-Nkrumah article called Kwame Nkrumah, the African Czar, Leninist Czar. I commissioned an African to answer him. In other words, as the African freedom explosion became a world issue, he was trying to water down the enthusiasm for it by writing an article saying that Nkrumah was a pawn of the Soviet Union. Now, this is the man that made the picture. Now, if you did your research work, you would understand the National Endowment endorsed the series at first, but in the interim, the administration changed, And the National Endowment withdrew their name, but it couldn't withdraw the money because the money had been spent. Only $600,000 in the first place. It cost $7 million. He got Africans of note to be his consultant. I don't know what they consulted him about or what he consulted them about, because everything in the film did violence to everything they stood for. But there are some Africans who are hungry. One, I could understand his position. He's a marrying man and a divorcing man. He had 2 sets of alimonies to pay. He needed the money. So sometime you sell a piece of your soul, you think, and you walk through the world as though you got a whole soul. And one time, if you sell a little piece of your soul, your whole body is polluted. Your whole body is less of a body just because you sold one little piece. What I can do without that piece. You can't. You can't do without any piece. You have to have a whole soul or none at all. Because you got to have a whole character or none at all. You're either honest man or you're a liar. One or the other, and there's nothing in between. So, all right. Who backed the other party called $7 million? Annenberg Trust of Philadelphia. Who are they? A Jewish real estate, a newspaper foundation. Why would they endorse that? Why would they put up the money? When you look at the picture, you can see what is happening. You can become an amateur prophet. Why would they endorse an African film? It said nothing of complimentary about Africans. Not really. He said something about African exploitation of the minerals in the 4th section. But every time he had something real good to say, he said it about Muslims in Africa. Algeria, he was just eloquent about that. Egypt, Muslim customs, the Muslim woman so moral, dressed up, then showed an African woman in a bathing suit. He was downgrading African people in behalf of Islam. And most Africans did not understand what he was doing. All right, now, I've been in trouble most of my life, so a little more ain't gonna kill me. I think this film was backed by a Jewish foundation because ultimately they're going to make peace with the Arabs. And you're going to see the Jews and the Arabs in the same political bed against us. We have no friends, no place. If you realize that, if you realize we have no friends, then you count yourself all over the world. You might be 1 billion people. Maybe you don't need any. Maybe you can manage without. And you shouldn't let that little item worry you. People make coalitions. People make alliances based on interests. And people have always made alliances at our expense and made alliances with us to benefit themselves and broke those alliances when it was no longer to their benefit to do so. All right, now let's go back to the Zulus, because when Mezeroy came to southern Africa, he missed the Zulu story altogether. He missed the South African story politically altogether. He told a few things here and there to give you the illusion that he favored the radicalism, the revolutionary warfare that's going on, the frontline states. And yet, while he gave you the illusion, in other places he said what applied what needed to be done, all he did there was just to infer here and there to show you what a pitiful lot they're in. And when he showed black kids in the hospital, he showed the sickest ones he could find. He could focus the cameras on. And he did not show anything because Muslim men, including black men right here, some in the audience and some all over this country, Muslim men are generally chauvinistic.